Namaskaraha and welcome to our next session on the yogic life. We were actually talking about food and there were a few questions that came up last week regarding food. So we'll cover that and then we'll address those questions and then we'll move forward. So one of the questions was that, having raw vegetables, one Bhagini was getting muscle pain from eating raw vegetables. So she was advised that not to eat raw vegetables. So as far as we know that eating raw vegetables is not the cause of the muscle pain. Eating raw vegetables will actually help to get rid of the muscle pain. So because the raw vegetables are the healthiest thing on the planet, and we are not used to eating raw vegetables. At least in India, people are not used to eating raw vegetables. We have some hesitation to eating raw vegetables. So the thing that we mostly consume is probably carrots and cucumbers. That's the most that we consume in terms of raw vegetables. But raw vegetables have a lot of nutrients that is not there in other food categories. So getting muscle pain from raw vegetables, that is not possible. So what we can suggest over here is that in order to see whether you're getting the muscle pain because of the raw vegetables or not, is to try for a couple of days, maybe not eat anything else, just eat only raw vegetables and see how you feel, right? So we don't think that you are getting the muscle pain because of the raw vegetables. So unless you actually really try it out, avoiding all the other foods, like if you mix them with the other foods, then you'll never know whether it is because of the raw vegetables or something else. So basically eliminate everything else and only try raw vegetables and see how you feel. Actually, you will feel much better. Your muscle pain should go away by eating the raw vegetables. So that was the thing on the raw vegetables. And also, how do we another question that came up in the other class was how do we categorize the different foods as tamasic and rajasic and sattvic? So that is actually done by the yogis. The yogis of the past have evaluated the impact of the vegetables on the not only the vegetables, of the food on the body and the mind. They were able to understand at a sukshma level how it impacted the body and the mind, and that's how they have categorized it into the different categories. So why is masoor dal considered tamasic? It's the same, for the same reason that onion and garlic are considered tamasic. The same reason the masoor dal is considered as tamasic, because masoor dal is very, very heavy. So when you eat masoor dal, you will note that you're feeling very heavy. Because of feeling very heavy, that I'm just thinking out loud here, because you're feeling heavy, it just makes a person very lethargic. It makes a person very tamasic. So it has a very tamasic prabhava on the mind. That's why the masoor dal is considered as tamasic. But the categorization of these foods into different categories, they're done by the yogis. They have done it based on their deeper understanding of the impact of these on the body and the mind at a subtle level, which we are not able to know and understand. So there is no there's no specific explanation as to why it is, but we can probably we can understand that some of these like for instance the onion and garlic, they have a very, very strong smell. And when you look at the other vegetables, they don't have, like carrots and cucumbers, they don't have that kind of a strong smell. Because of that extremely strong smell, it has a very tamasic prabhava on the mind. Same thing you can think about masoor dal and other dals which are tamasic. It has a very tamasic vibration on the mind, and that is why they have been categorized as tamasic. And also there is another question about in India that at least in India that people hear that the spinach and other greens, they're grown using gutter water, right? So that obviously we should not be eating those kind of greens which are cultivated using gutter water. So because if you even boiling vegetables will kill the bacteria which come from the sewage, but it will not remove any heavy metals and other chemicals. So therefore we should avoid vegetables which are grown using the sewage water, if we know that. So we should buy vegetables from reliable sources, and to the extent possible we should buy organic vegetables. And if you're having space in your house, you can easily grow spinach and other greens very easily in your backyard. It doesn't take much effort at all. So once you plant them, then automatically they start growing, and not much of maintenance also. So you can easily grow some of the greens in your backyard. So that is also there. And also, if you have reasonably well that you're getting the greens, they're being grown organically from a particular farm, then that is also good source you can purchase. So yeah, that is on the vegetables. So let us go back to our the topic that we were discussing, food. There are a few more items that I would like to cover. So the first thing is the impact of the food on the body and the mind. We already talked about that. So we should eat those foods which help the body to create an environment in which the mind can focus, in which the mind can become calm, shant, and engaged in its program of thinking about the infinite. Right? That is the main goal of yoga, is to realize the infinite, and to attain that, we're making all those changes in our life, which will help us move in that direction. And one thing is the food. Food has an impact on our existence, on our physical and mental existence. So unless the mind is calm, we cannot engage in the yogic life. We cannot engage in our program of thinking about the infinite. So that is the main point, and that is why the Sattvika Ahar will help us to do that. And such foods should be eaten as will help to create a proper atmosphere in the body in which the mind can do the sadhana, mind can do the meditation. So the body in which the mind can be at peace. So these are the things, I mean, theoretically you can explain all these, but to actually experience this, one has to implement these changes. When one implements these changes, one will automatically realize how it is impacting your body and mind. So theoretically I can talk a lot about it, but yeah, as I mentioned before, yoga is 99% practice, 1% theory. So in our classes, 1% theory, we'll be talking about it, but at the end of the day, the implementation is that it's in your hands. So the more you implement, the more you will see the changes that is happening at your individual level, right? So the mind can become quiet and engage in the program of endless contemplation of the infinite, and the sattvic diet and the yogasanas help to calm the mind, right? So that is the impact of the food on the body and the mind. And few other points to remember is that the yogis basically take the sattvic ahar. So even though we've been saying the yogis take the sattvic ahar, in fact this ahara is good not only for the yogis but for all human beings. Even for a person who is not a sadhaka, who is not a spiritual aspirant, even for such a person to have a good and healthy and a long life, it is important to have good sattvic ahar. So that is the first point. And the second point is that you should be conscious about not only thinking about the food before you swallow it, because we usually think about the taste of the food before we swallow it. So we give almost 100% of importance to the way the food tastes. That's where our focus lies in. But we should also focus on what happens to the food after swallowing it. What happens to the food, and what type of food that you eat is also going to be considered, right? The type of the food that you eat will have an impact. So we should consider what happens to the food after you swallow the food. And then the important point to remember is to take the food, which is of course very tasty, but is also conducive for the yogic sadhana. So we have the belief that the food, sattvic ahar, is not tasty, it's very bland, it's tasteless. That is because we have been used to certain taste for many years, right? As a result, when you make the change, you're not liking it. You're feeling that no, this is not for me. I've been used to eating oil, I've been used to eating ghee, I've been used to eating spices. My ancestors have been eating it like that, and they were all doing fine, they didn't have any problem, so why should I change my diet? That is a typical question we hear, right? So my parents were eating like that, they were healthy. My ancestors were eating like that, they were healthy. That is the question. So it is the point to be remembered is that they were healthy despite eating those things. They were able to live long despite eating those things. So that does not mean that the diet was healthy, that's why they were living long. Their lifestyle also was very different. They were eating the oil and ghee, they were able to maintain their health because they were very active, they were physically active, they were doing other things, and that is despite eating that food they were able to live long because they were doing other things. But in today's lifestyle, we have a very desk oriented job. We sit in front of the computer and do the job. We don't have physical activity. With that kind of a lifestyle in mind, this diet is not suitable. This existing diet with animal products is not suitable. That is what we need to understand, and you will not realize that unless you try to implement it, right? So we initially, having said this, that we have to take a diet which is tasty but is also conducive for yogic sadhana. So we can start with eating raw vegetables or things like that, whole food. Initially it may not taste very good in the beginning, but our taste buds also change over a period of time. Our taste buds change. When our taste buds change, initially it sounds very difficult or feels like it's very bland, not tasty and all that, but slowly you will definitely start loving the raw food and the whole grains and the sattvic ahar, the vegetables and fruits. So what happens is your taste buds all will change. When your taste buds change, after a month you will start slowly feeling that I don't want this diet. This diet is the earlier diet that I was eating is actually not good. The spicy diet was giving me a lot of burning sensation. It is really not actually good for me, and your mind will automatically get detached from that. It is just amazing to see how your mind will slowly get detached from the foods that were so tasty for us before, and now no longer I have any interest in those kinds of food, because I have started loving this sattvic ahar, because it is keeping my mind calm, it is keeping my body in a shant state. So then slowly my attraction towards all those other foods, the tamasic and rajasic ahar, will slowly vanish. So we need to eat the food that will make our body in such a way that our mind can focus and be conducive for yoga sadhana. So the goal of human life is to merge into the infinite, and for that purpose we do that via sadhana, we do that via meditation. The mind does the sadhana. So the mind needs a conducive environment. So that is why we talked about the sattvic ahar. So everything in this universe vibrates, right? Everything has a vibration. So from any activity that we do, any activity, it can be like, for instance, watching a YouTube, something you're watching on YouTube, it can have a sattvic impact, it can have a rajasic impact, or it can have a tamasic impact. So we only talked about the food aspect, but even in other aspects also, the different activities have these kind of impact. So we should be very careful in terms of what we do, what we watch, what we hear, what we see. So we have to be careful from that, because everything has a vibration. You yourself might have realized that when you watch a movie which has a lot of violence in it, before you go into sleep, then you have a very disturbed sleep, because that has an impact on you. Like, on the other hand, when you hear something which is soothing and which is actually elevating your mind, then you get a good night's sleep. You're peaceful, and you next morning you're fresh. On the other hand, when you watch something which is very disturbing, then you get a disturbed sleep, and the next day morning also is not so good. So if you pay close attention, you realize that why am I feeling so agitated, is because of the thing that you saw or the thing that you ate, right? So that is why sattvic ahar is important. And moving forward, taking proper food creates a body which has that environment. All the cells of the body are made of the food that we eat, and the food has a certain vibration. Just like everything in this world has a vibration, food also has a vibration. So if you're eating tamasic food, then the cells of the body become tamasic, and you will never be able to concentrate the mind in sadhana when you're taking tamasic food. So the more the sattvic the food is, the more the food becomes sukshma, and the more the body composition, even within days, like even after a single meal, the composition of the body gets changed when you eat sattvic ahara. So even vegetarians, who are not taking this type of food that we're talking about, the sattvic ahar, when they take it for the first time, they feel so different. The body feels very light for the first time after you took this meal, and the body feels light and the mind is very alert. So even after taking this the ahara, sattvic ahara, your mind is very alert, right? You are able to, even after that, you can sit after having a sattvic ahara, you can sit down and do sadhana. Your mind is not sleepy. On the other hand, if you take food which is full of oil and ghee and spices, then after food you feel like you want to take a nap, right? That kind of situation never arises when you take sattvic ahara. You don't feel sleepy at all in the afternoon. That is one thing that I have noted a lot. Also, you don't have any stomach ache. You feel that your stomach is very happy. There is never a situation where you have gas or you have bloating or you have any of those issues. None of those issues. Your stomach is always very happy. You have clean digestion. So those are all the benefits of taking sattvic ahar. And also for people who are having GERD, right, the gastrointestinal diseases, for them also, they don't have any burning, they don't have burping, right? There's no the burning that which comes up from the stomach, right? The acid reflux which comes up from the stomach from the stomach into the chest, and your chest starts burning and aching. All those kind of issues also go away. People get this burning, and they and even though they get burning, what they do is they still continue taking the same food the next time, and it happens again. So then over a period of time, when it happens again and again and again, this acid reflux, and it can cause permanent damages to your organs. So this happens for many people, and even it happens for vegetarians as well. So if you keep on going on eating the same oily, spicy food and go on you get the same problem. So the thing is that you need to realize that you're having this problem and wanting to make that change. One is that the taste buds, right? Here, like, I want to say two things. One is that the taste buds which we have from birth, if we revert to the food which we are designed to eat, then the taste buds also will come alive again, which they have been destroyed by eating wrong foods for so many years. But if we go on eating raw fruits and vegetables, which we are designed to do, which our body is designed to do, then within days, and in fact even within one meal, depending on the person, then the person will start to feel, wow, this is really amazing, these foods are amazing, and you will feel very good. Inside and outside you will feel very good. So this will actually change your life, right? If you eat a raw tomato or a raw cucumber or a raw carrot, right, these are all live foods, right? Or a cauliflower, right? These are all live food, and your taste buds will start to come again. When you cook them, what happens is that a lot of nutrients get killed, right? So actually you can just eat them raw. They are very, very tasty, and slowly your taste buds will just want for them. So anytime you feel hungry, you'll be looking for the fruits and vegetables. You're not looking for anything else, right? That is an amazing feeling. Like when you're hungry, you're automatically looking for fruits and vegetables and not for anything else. Because generally, if you're not into this diet, when you're in between and you're hungry, you feel like what should I snack? Should I snack this chips or that chips or pakoda or whatnot? Right? That kind of feeling for snacking will completely go away. You will not have that desire to snack, and even if you want to snack, you will only snack on a vegetable or a fruit, right? So automatically your mind gets changed. So that is a very important point, right? And the last thing is that the mind, the brain, and the body, everything changes by the degree of the sattvic food. How sattvic the food is. If the food is very, very sattvic, then to that extent the mind, brain, the body, everything changes. Your whole existence changes. And then it aids a lot in doing sadhana, because sadhana is not an easy process. To think about, constantly think about the infinite is not an easy process. And we a lot of people try doing meditation and they say, no, this is not for me. I don't think so I can do meditation. I cannot sit even for a second without doing anything, right? So we have human beings have all these issues. This is due to the pashu dharma that we have from ages. And in order to aid us, help us to do sadhana, which is not an easy process, it's very important to take the sattvic ahar. The more the sattvic ahar is, the more your mind gets elevated, the more you're getting attraction towards Paramapurusha. You get more attraction towards the doing the spiritual follow the spirituality. So that is what I wanted to say. And then okay, so another thing is that the like thinking about the infinite is not an easy thing, right? But there are certain things when we begin to change the entire life, right? In changing the entire life, anytime see, when you want to change your entire life and you're trying to introduce new habits, right? What happens is that when you introduce a new habit in your life, for instance, like changing the food, in the beginning, how does it happen? When I want to change the food, how does it happen? Is that in the beginning, it happens by discipline. Happens by anushasanam, right? By discipline. So initially you will use force. You'll say, no, I will not eat this. You'll force yourself to because you believe this is good, you'll force yourself to do this. So in the beginning you will do discipline, like not only for food, for anything. In the beginning you will do it by force. You will be very strict with yourself, you'll be very harsh to yourself, and you will use the discipline and say, I'm not going to do this. Then when you do the discipline for a few days, then what happens that then you get you get the habit, you get the abhyasa, right? By doing it again and again, you get the abhyasa, you get the adat, right? Then what happens is the new habit begins to come, and then after some time when you keep doing it after abhyasa, then what happens, it becomes your swabhava. It becomes your swabhava. First is anushasanam, then abhyasa and swabhava. So it started with discipline, then it became habit, and then ultimately it became your nature. When it becomes your nature, then you cannot survive without it, right? Like for instance, they say that if you do something for 21 days, then it becomes your habit, and then slowly you continue to do it for a longer period of time, then it becomes your swabhava. Same thing is like any small example you can take. Like for instance, people who actually brush their teeth in the night before going to sleep, right? If they have they had this practice from childhood, they've been doing it for long enough, it is an abhyasa and it has become their swabhava. So then no matter where they are, no matter whatever the condition is, they cannot sleep without brushing their teeth. That has become their swabhava. Same thing, when you want to introduce something new, you have to follow this anushasanam, abhyasa, and then swabhava. Just like a fish cannot survive without water, the same way a sadhaka, a yogi, or any human being for that matter cannot survive without, that means he would never like to eat the wrong foods. A yogi would never like to eat the wrong foods. He is being used to eating the sattvic ahar. His swabhava is to eat the sattvic ahar. Therefore you cannot convince him to eat the wrong foods, because now it has become the yogi's swabhava. So not only a yogi, any human being, if they get into this and they have this discipline, abhyasa, and becomes a swabhava, then you cannot go back to what you were doing earlier, because now they have realized, they have seen the benefits of it. They know that it is good for their body, it's good for their mind, and now it has totally become their nature. So even before you learn meditation, these are the practical things, the food that we talked about, these are all very important that you need to implement. So those of you who haven't practiced, I would encourage you to try moving in that direction that we talked about. So no onion, garlic, mushroom, get rid of the oil, and then try to do water-based cooking. Include a lot of raw fruits and vegetables and greens. And what happens by this is that the composition of your body and your brain will physically change, and you will actually reach your ideal weight, right? What you're designed to be, right? Your ideal weight, you will be there. All the excess weight in your body will all go away. A yogi cannot be fat. He has to have his ideal weight, and you will gain your ideal weight, and you will remove all the excess fat and water and everything from your body by eliminating SOS, salt, oil, sugar, and also including a lot of raw fruits and vegetables. So the composition of your brain also will change, and the vibration of the brain changes, and the mind actually lives there. So when the body and the mind becomes more, the brain becomes more sattvic, the body becomes more sattvic, the brain becomes more sattvic, then the mind also will become very, very sattvic. It will become very alert. You'll be able to concentrate on anything. So even before you learn meditation, you will be able to concentrate. So for instance, in any activity that you're doing, if you're a student studying in a university, then you will be able to do your job more efficiently. If you're working somewhere, you'll be able to do your job more efficiently. If you're a housewife, you'll be able to do your job more efficiently. So whatever the activity that may be, by doing this, by having a good ahara, satvika ahara, your efficiency also will increase because your mind becomes more and more sharp. You get this agra buddhi, right? Your mind becomes very, very sharp. So I just encourage all of you to, so even before, like sometimes what happens is that we might have understood things differently from our experience or from from our family or how it has been done, how we are brought up and everything. But unless we try this, in order to reject this, right, if you say, okay, I don't want to try this, I'm not used to this and I can't try this, right, before you reject it, you have to try it out. If you just reject it without trying out, then that is not correct, right? You have to reject it out logically. So you have to try it out and see for a month how is it impacting. And after a month, if you will, no, this is not for me and it's not having any impact on me, it's just a waste of time, then you have every right to reject it. But unless you try with an open mind, you cannot reject it. That's what I would actually say. Is that yeah, we've been used to a certain way of living, a certain way of food, and all that is there. We've learnt all this from our family and from our ancestors, and all that is there. But just because it has come through our ancestors doesn't mean that is the right way, right? Unless we should be open to try something new and see how it is. If after trying, if you feel no, this is completely wrong, this is not having any value, right, then you reject it, then it's a different story. But without trying, you should not reject it. So I would encourage all of you to see how this diet is, and I'm sure you'll be all amazed at how what kind of impact it has in your life. Okay, so that is what is on the food that I wanted to talk. So do you have any questions at this point? Chandrasekhar Modi, do you like to quickly summarize what we talked about?
Okay, Bhagini. Um, the key is yogic food. The yogic ahara influences the mind, and in order for us, the mind needs to be at peace. The mind needs to be calm to be able to focus on the infinite, to be able to meditate on the Paramapurusha. The mind needs to be calm, and for the mind to be calm, ahara would be one of the key uh, things that would influence what we that will help the mind to be calm. Uh, it, the ahara, the sattvic ahara, is the key, and it makes you conducive to to sadhana. And we need to think about what not only what food before we eat, but we also need to think about the food after we swallow it. Think about what happens to it, and it enables the body to absorb the the, the essence of the sattvic food. And the sattvic diet vibrates. The food has a vibration. That vibration helps uh, the body, the mind to be calm, to make it conducive for you to focus uh, on the Paramapurusha. By I think you also said by if it's not sattvic food, if you argue about taking tamasic and rajasic food, then the mind uh, can never concentrate on the sadhana, never get quiet enough, calm enough, or be at peace to be able to perform meditation, to be able to meditate on the Paramapurusha. and you've insisted on everyone trying the Sattvic, method, that you would have. Uh, it's just not theoretical. You need to be practical about it to be able to practice it to really get the benefit of what we are learning by practice. If the you said even after eating it for the first time, the body becomes light, the mind becomes alert. The sattvic food makes it very very alert, and you if you don't like it, you get used to it, and it without taking too much time, the taste buds get used to and begin to like the taste of sattvic food, the taste of whole food, and one needs to have a, a discipline. That's very important to have the discipline, and the discipline leads to a habit, and the habit leads to it becoming your svabhava, and that's the way we uh, we influence a change to go from having a discipline to a habit to it becoming ultimately the svabhava. Um, and that's essentially the essence of how we can accomplish uh, the to get ourselves to get the mind to a state of, of being ready to do the sadhana.
Okay, Madhya.
Yeah.
Mm.
Thank you.
Very nice. Very nice. Very nice. Thank you. Yeah. So I just want to correct. I said Anushasanam, Abhyasaha, Subhavaha. Anushasanam is discipline and Abhyasa is practice. Abhyasa is practice. And then Subhava is habit. Subhava is habit. That becomes your nature. Right? Anushasanam, Abhyasaha, Subhavaha. इति वक्तव्यम् and also another point I think some in one of my class I don't know if this class or the Sanskrit class, but one of them had a question about eating nuts, right? Is it okay to eat nuts? So the thing is that it is okay to eat nuts, right? There's nothing wrong in taking nuts, but the thing is that nuts should be taken raw, not roasted. We should not roast the nuts. What happens is that if you roast the nuts, if the nuts are roasted, it means they have been heated to an extremely high temperature, and by doing so what happens is that the oil in them, right, the oil undergoes chemical change, and then it makes it very carcinogenic, right? It makes it cancer promoting. So taking raw nuts in limited quantities is fine. A handful of nuts is fine. Nuts should not be the main meal, right? Should not be the main meal. You can take a little bit of nuts, raw nuts, but they should be raw, right? They should not be roasted. In the nuts that you get from the shops, which are coming in the packets, they are almost likely roasted, right? So those kind of nuts should be avoided, right? Or they're always roasted, unless generally the package will say that they have not been roasted, but most likely the nuts are roasted. When they're roasted, it's not by those kind of nuts, by nuts which are raw, because we don't want to roast those nuts at high temperature, because then the oil in them changes, the chemical, the oil undergoes chemical change, right? And that it makes it carcinogenic, makes it cancer promoting. So taking raw nuts is fine. So I wanted to highlight that point as well. And okay, any questions on food in general? Okay.
Bhagini, namaste Bhagini. Just you pointed out about the nuts, right? So
yeah.
You are saying that we can take nuts.
Yeah.
I heard it should be soaked. Is it necessary to soak, or normally we can eat?
You can actually soak the nuts and eat, that is also good. Or you can normally eat nuts, you're just going to eat just a few nuts, right? You're not going to make that as a main meal, right? Just a few nuts, raw nuts, you can eat them. If you like to soak them and eat, that is also fine. Yeah. You were the one who was having question about the raw food, right? Raw vegetables and fruits.
Yes, Bhagini. Yes, you cleared that my doubt.
Yeah. So I actually suggest that you have, with an open mind, try it out and see how what impact it has. Because my personal experience is having raw fruits and vegetables. I don't have any muscle pain at all. My muscle pain, everything is gone. So that is a change I saw. So you can try it out on you, what experience you have, but don't combine them with other foods. You'll never know if you combine them with other foods.
You can't soak the cashews by it. You can soak the almonds, but not the cashews.
What is it? I can't hear you properly. What is it?
You can't soak cashews. You can soak almonds, the ones with the skin. You remove the skin and then eat. That's the
yeah. Bhagini is asking about almonds only. Soak.
Actually, my doubt is about almonds. That's it.
Yeah, Bhagini's doubt is about almonds. Okay. So moving on, that like food is very, very important, right? Why is it so important? Because our bodies and brain, that includes everything is made of the food that we eat. So we talked about everything being spandanatmak, everything being vibrational. So everything we eat has a certain vibration, and the vibration of the food that we eat has a profound impact on the vibration of our entire existence. If somebody eats something tamasic, it is going to have a tamasic impact on their mind, and it's going to have a degenerative effect on their mind, right? Your mind is going to get degenerated by eating tamasic food. So that is why we have to be very careful. Remember that the body is the vehicle. It is the vehicle of our entire existence, right? For us to progress spiritually, we need this body, right? The Atma resides in the body, right? So the mind also resides in the mind is in the body. The mind is in the body. The Atma gets abhivyakti because of the body, right? Without the body, the mind cannot do anything. You cannot progress spiritually. So we have to keep that body in the best condition, right? We have to keep that body in that best condition. And also one thing to remember, that this body is not permanent. Sometimes we feel that this body is permanent, we are going to live in this world forever, but this body is not permanent. We have been given this body. We did not purchase it. We've been given this body. We did not make this body. We've been given it for temporary usage. So how many ever years we may live on this planet, we may be on this planet, but people generally don't think about all these things. But we do have a very, very temporary existence on this planet, and life is very, very short. So we have to make maximum utilization. Maximum utilization means the time factor is our greatest asset. Time factor is our greatest asset. We have to utilize that time, because we have finite number of seconds in this life, and if we have to think about the time factor all the time, right? We have to make proper use of the time that we have at our disposal, right? So we should not be wasting any minute. We should not be wasting any second. We should not be wasting any minute for doing gossips or talking unnecessary things which are not elevating the mind. There's no point in having such kind of conversations, right? Just for the sake of having conversation, just for the sake of spending time having conversation, that's a pure waste of time, because in this life we have limited amount of time. We don't think about it. Time is our greatest factor. So we have to utilize it for every moment in moving towards that goal of human life. The goal of human life being realizing that infinite. So we have to utilize every minute. We have to think that the time is our greatest asset, right? What is our greatest asset? It is the time, and we have to utilize the time in realizing our human goal, which is realizing the infinite. So we have to apply that principle to food as well. This human body is a machine, just like a car. So if we take a car, it just runs on gasoline. But if we put kerosene instead of gasoline, then the car is not going to run well, right? car was designed to run using gasoline, but instead of gasoline, if you put kerosene, then it is not going to run well, right? So in a similar manner, this human body is a machine, and the body needs fuel to run. And right, so in order to maintain the machine, we need to use the fuel, and the body was designed to have a certain kind of fuel, and that fuel is the raw fruits, vegetables. That is the diet that the body was designed to run on. But instead of that, instead of giving that sattvic ahar, if we were to give tamasic ahar or rajasic ahar, then this machine is not going to run properly, right? We have to give the right kind of fuel. Just like in a car, we have to give gasoline and not kerosene. In the same way, we have, for this body, this machine, we have to give food for which it was designed. It was designed to take sattvic ahar, so we have to take that, right? If you look at animals, you don't see any animals going to the doctor. You don't see there is no vaidya for the animals, right? If they fall sick, they suffer for some time and then they get better on their own, right? They because they are eating the food that they were designed to eat. They don't go and eat anything new. Right? On the other hand, human beings, what we do is we use our intelligence to create new and new kinds of food without realizing what is the impact that is going to have on our body. Our body was not designed for those kinds of food, but that is the reason you can see that human beings go to the doctor, right? Animals don't go to the doctor. We go to the doctor because we are eating all the wrong foods, right? So the moment we go to the doctor, we have to understand that we have been eating wrong foods. That is what we should remind ourselves, right? So with that said, I would encourage all of you one more time, to those of you who have not tried, to try out the sattvic diet and see how you feel, right? So so initially, you might feel you didn't like it, and you might feel it's different and all that, but slowly you will get used to it, right? So all of you should make the effort to try it out. Okay. So also I want to talk about the foods being addictive, right? So we said that onion, garlic, mushrooms, cheese, animal products, they're all very, very they're tamasic. We said they're tamasic, but also one thing to note, that these foods are also addictive, right? The onion, garlic, mushrooms, cheese, these are all very, very addictive, because these have been added to the food just for flavor, right? They've been added for this one to the food, whatever food that we are preparing, just for flavor. They have an addictive quality to them, right? So they're very, very, very harmful to the body. They're harmful to the body and the mind. So these foods have an addictive quality, and that is why we have a great difficulty in stopping, to stop eating onion and garlic, because we're so used to have the food having onion and garlic, that to stop to have food without them, it becomes very difficult, because we are addicted, because they have the addictive quality to them. So that's why it becomes very difficult to stop eating those foods, right? On the other hand, if you were to stop eating carrots, if you didn't get carrot, I don't think anybody will make a big deal out of it. They'll say, okay, fine, I don't have carrot, it's fine, then I'll eat something else, because carrots and spinach and cucumbers, they're not addictive. But on the other hand, if you take cheese is very addictive. People eat pizza and whatnot, right? They put a lot of cheese and they eat. It is very, very chemically addictive, similar to people smoking cigarettes or who are drinking alcohol. It's very difficult to stop. So if somebody said don't eat a carrot, then you'll say, okay, fine, not to eat a carrot, what's the big deal? Okay, I will not eat a carrot, no problem. Because carrot is not addictive, right? You can easily stop eating carrots and cucumbers and spinach. It's not at all difficult. But on the other hand, there are foods which are addictive, like the onion, garlic, mushrooms, cheese, all the animal products, ghee, meat, everything is very addictive. It gives a certain very heavy feeling, which is satisfying to people in the stomach, right? So after they have eaten a meal with meat in it, they feel like they've really eaten something, something enjoyable, that they really enjoyed it, right? But so for people who have been eating all these for many, many years, it becomes very difficult to stop, because these are addictive. Cheese is also like that. Onion, garlic is also like that, right? If you think about it, onion and garlic, they have a very, very strong and powerful flavor, right? So on the other hand, if you look at the carrot or a spinach, they don't have such a strong and a powerful flavor. Nobody has a hard time leaving spinach or carrot behind, right? So but the onion and garlic, they have a very strong flavor. They're very they have a very strong taste, so they're very addictive, right? Some people may say that, so these onion garlic, they have medicinal qualities, right? In some medicines they say that having this is good for you, right? But the thing is that you take medicine only when you have a problem. You don't take medicine every day, right? Medicine is not your food. If onion garlic has medicinal qualities, then you take them when you have a problem. When you have a disease, then you take them. When you don't have the problem, there is no need to take onion and garlic. If onion and garlic were included in a medicine, then, and you are supposed to take it because you have a particular disease, then it is okay because you're trying to treat a disease. But when you don't have the disease, there is no need for onion and garlic. It is tamasic. It has a negative vibration. It has a negative impact on your mind. It makes your mind degenerated, right? The vibration of onion garlic is very similar to the vibration from animal products, the meat and fish. That is why people like to eat those things, so much, right? So these are not sattvic. These are all very crude things, and you can just imagine by the smell, right? So other vegetables like, carrots and cucumbers and cauliflower, they're all having a very subtle smell. But onion, garlic, they have a very strong, pungent smell. They're completely tamasic. So when you have a meal with onion and garlic, it just overpowers the rest of the meal. You can't smell anything else. All you smell is this onion and garlic because it's having such a strong smell, right? Just like people who smoke cigarettes, somebody who smokes cigarettes, they like it like that. So it may be very difficult for them to leave cigarettes because they just love those things. They cannot do without it. Same thing with alcohol. Same thing with meat, cheese, onion, garlic, right? Think of that way. So once you get away from it, just like people who used to smoke and once they quit smoking, they cannot stand the smell of the cigarettes. They become totally repulsive, right? They don't like cigarettes anymore. They get away. If somebody successfully gets away from cigarettes in their life, then they will never want to go near the cigarettes. They cannot stand the smell of it anymore, right? What they used to love once upon a time, now they actually hate it. It's the same thing with onion and garlic. When you stop eating onion and garlic, then the power becomes so strong that you will never want to go near it, right? It's having a very a tamasic impact on your mind. So that's why it's better to avoid. It is good to avoid onion and garlic and cheese, all those things. So talked about addictive foods, and then oil, little bit on oil. So we said that oil is very heavy. It's very heavy, and if you made a meal with a lot of oil in it, it's going to be very heavy. And the meal which is made with animal products, with any animal product, it's going to be heavy, and this is not the quality of a sattvic ahar. Sattvic ahar is never heavy, right? Never. We're talking about heaviness over here. So when you take carrots, like let's say you eat 20 carrots or 30 carrots, the stomach is still going to be light. The stomach will be light. You can still sit and do sadhana after eating 20 carrots or 30 carrots or 40 carrots. No issue. Your stomach will easily digest those things. If you eat a bunch of spinach, it will digest very quickly, and the stomach will become empty again quickly. But on the other hand, if you eat something fried in oil like pakoda or a samosa or something like that, then all of a sudden the potato that was there in that or the vegetables that were there in the samosa, they are all light. But the moment they become fried in the oil, the quality completely changes. It becomes heavy, and it creates the feeling of sleepiness after eating it. So there is no vegetable that is so much of fat like the oil, right? Everything from animal products everything from an animal is high in fat. So for instance, the vegetable oil is 100% fat. Vegetable oil is 100% fat. There is nothing in it, there is no nutrition in it other than fat. So you're adding the quality of meat, fish and dairy products, all those qualities you're adding into the oil, like cheese, eggs, all those things, oil, cheese, eggs, animal products, they're all very high in fat. And so if you had originally a vegetarian meal, and then you added a lot of oil and a lot of cheese and all those animal products, then something which was extremely low in fat, now you have artificially made it very high in fat, because no vegetable has that much of fat. It is only the animal products which have a lot of fat in them, right? So that is what is about the oil and animal products. So moving on, there are only two kinds of foods in this world. There are only two kinds of foods, two types of foods. Foods come from plants and foods come from animals. Those are only two kinds, right? Everything that comes from the plant, no matter what it is, whether it is potatoes or pears or grapes or bananas or cabbage or eggplant or whatever it may be, they have a similar nutritional breakdown, right? There are two types of nutrients. There are two types of nutrients: macronutrients and micronutrients. Macronutrients are those that contain calories, right? And micronutrients are like the vitamins and minerals and all the other phytochemicals and thousands of other things, right? They don't have calories in them. The macronutrients have calories, and have calories. So when we talk about how those calories are coming, is from protein, carbohydrates and fat. Protein, carbohydrates and fat, three. They are called as macronutrients: carbohydrates, protein and fat. So anything that comes from the plant is going to have this kind of a breakdown, nutritional breakdown: 80% carbohydrates, 10% fat, and 10% protein, right? Anything that comes from plant is having 80% carbohydrates, 10% protein, 10% fat. Carbohydrates means anything we see like starch, right? So when you think of a potato or a rice, so not only for potato or rice, but any plant that we are going to eat, anything that comes from the plant is 80% starch, 80% carbohydrates, 10% fat and 10% protein. That is what plants are, all of them, right? Fruits, vegetables, grains, beans, right? There may be some variation, but overall that is the fundamental trend. 80-10-10 is the fundamental trend. But when you look at the other kind, one kind is food that comes from plants, that has 80-10-10 ratio, and foods that come from animals, it can be anything. It can be milk, fish, eggs, ghee, oil. It's ghee, so sorry, not oil. Milk, fish, eggs, meat, or any animal product, chicken, anything, right? They don't have that kind of a breakdown. They have zero carbohydrates, and they have, if you look at it, they have 60-40 ratio: 60% fat, 40% protein, or it can be 40% fat, 60% protein. It can be this 60-40 or 40-60, that kind of a ratio for animal products, right? They don't have any carbohydrates in them. The 100% of the calories are coming from protein and fat. On the plant side, it is 80-10-10, 80% carbohydrates, 10% fat, 10% protein. So anything that comes from an animal has zero calories from carbohydrates, nothing. They don't have any calories from carbohydrates. They 100% of the calories is from some combination of protein or fat. It can range from 60% protein and 40% fat, to 40% for protein and 60% fat. So that it might just vary. It will range from 40 to 60% this way or that way, right? But they don't have any carbohydrates. So this is actually a new concept that we are going to talk about in the next slide, that is energy. What is energy? So over here, the kinds of foods. So Sri Sabagni, would you like to summarize?
Yes, Bhagini. The thing is, first and foremost thing, our body is a temple. So to keep our mind sharp, we should avoid all kinds of addictive foods, and we should take sattvic food. Basically, addictive foods means a strong and pungent smell, kind of onion, garlic, mushrooms, and animal products: meat, fish, chicken, and cheese. And we should avoid all those addictive foods. because of those addictive foods, the thing is, as you said, our body is the it should be conducive. The thing is, our body helps our mind to think properly, and to attain infinity. We should keep our mind. We should keep our mind sattvic. For that, body helps our mind. So whatever we eat uh, impacts our body, ultimately our mind. And for our sadhana, we should be careful, and we should avoid all the addictive foods. And usually we are used to eating oil. Oil is a very very heavy food, and if we eat oil, the thing is, for example, if we eat we think we are vegetarians and we eat carrot, but if we fry the carrot unnecessarily, we are adding some fat to that carrot, and it becomes a bad food for us, for our body. It's not a sattvic food, so we should avoid oil as well. And one more thing, we have two kinds of foods. One comes from animals and the other comes from plants. The ratio in animal food is 60% protein and 40% fat, which is bad for us. Here fat is more in the foods coming from plants. It has the ratio of 80% carbs, 10% protein, and 10% fat. Here the fat is less, and it is easily digestible. And one more thing, there are only two types of nutrients, macro and micro. That's it, buddy.
Very good. Nice. Okay. So I'll just take this and then I will wrap up the session. So here the new concept is energy, right? Where does the body get energy? The body gets 100% of its energy from carbohydrates. Right? This is a big thing, right? The body gets 100% of its energy from carbohydrates. So nothing from protein or nothing from fat, right? In biology, there is a cycle called as the Krebs cycle. So in terms of how the food is converted into energy, there's a process by which the food is converted into, because due to chemical reactions, the food is converted into energy in the body, and that energy is called as ATP, right? Is actually the result. The ATP is the name of the energy in the body. It emerges out of the Krebs cycle, right? And what is the fuel for the Krebs cycle? What goes into the Krebs cycle that comes out as energy, as glucose? So glucose is the breakdown product of carbohydrates, right? All carbohydrates, fruits, grains, vegetables, and beans, all of it gets broken down to glucose, right? All carbohydrates in those foods mean the 80% of the calories that are coming from the plant and vegetables, which are carbohydrates, they get broken down to glucose. And the glucose from these plants, fruits, grains, and vegetables and beans, they go into this Krebs cycle and they produce energy. So what happens when you eat anything that comes from animal? Maybe it may be a milk product, eggs, cheese, meat, or fish, which has a 60-40 ratio on the protein and fat, zero carbohydrates. So where is the Krebs cycle energy going to come from? From these, right? From these animal products, you're not going to get any energy. No energy is going to come. So one does not get energy in the body by eating anything from animal. So right, there are only two types of foods that come from animal and foods that come from plants. And if it comes from plants, 80% of the calories are carbohydrates, which get broken down to glucose, which creates energy. And if it comes from animal, zero from carbohydrates, so you get zero energy, and it has some ratio of protein and fat, and neither of these get broken down easily to glucose. So creating glucose, which is the only ingredient that you can create energy from, from glucose in the body. So creating glucose from protein or fat is very, very expensive, right? It's very expensive. It's a difficult process. The body does not like it, so it has to go all around. It has to take all extra steps. So body does not like to do that. So what happens is when people eat fat, then the body says, oh, I know where to put this fat, so let me put this fat on the hips, let me put it on the thighs, or let me put it on the stomach, right? So these are all the places where you see people get overweight. That is from the fat from the animal products. So the vegetables, on the other hand, vegetables, they have a very small amount of fat. They have only 10% of fat. But when you look at the vegetable oil, it's, even though it's coming from vegetable, the vegetable oil, it has 100% fat, no carbohydrates. That means no energy, nothing, right? It has completely 100% fat, and it is useless for the body. It is actually destructive for the body. It has no benefit. It is not a natural food for human beings. So that is why vegetable oil does not grow in the field. So if you just think about any of the oil that you buy in a store, it has to get a bottle of oil, a huge amount of crop is crushed, right? Whatever oil it may be, sunflower oil. So a huge amount of sunflower seeds are crushed to get that oil, right? You have to take a huge amount and throw out a huge amount of food to just extract oil from those things and make a bottle of oil. Making 1 liter of oil means makes a huge, you have to take huge crops and make a huge waste of all that stuff in that plant, and that was not oil, and you're throwing it out, you're just throwing it out as garbage and extracting the oil to make this extremely, artificial nutrient, which is 100% fat, which the body has no use for, right? The body has no use for it. So you can see that, when you consume this 100% fat oil, so it just goes and stands in your sticks to your thighs or your legs or your stomach or your back, right? So that is what it is. And so you don't get any energy from these animal products or oil. Oil has absolutely no nutrition whatsoever. When they're heated to high temperature, all the nutrition is completely lost, right? So what we've talked about is that we've talked about onion, garlic, we've talked about oil, we also talked about 2 kinds of foods, and we also talked about how we get energy in the body. We get energy in the body from carbohydrates, and so we need carbohydrates. So the amount of fat that we need is only 10%, and that 10% of the fat we are getting from fruits and vegetables. So there is no need for any additional oil. There's no need for any additional oil. So if people like to consume, they can consume nuts, seeds, and avocado. Those are all good. You can eat them in limited quantities, right? So if you want to get extra fat, you can have those. Okay. So so far, any questions? Okay. So we will stop over here. If you have any questions, you can let me know. Otherwise, धन्यवादः, नमस्कारः.
धन्यवादः, नमस्कारः.
धन्यवादः.
धन्यवादः, नमस्कारः.
धन्यवादः.